Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Precious Metal Summit Europe, and with me here is now for the first time Nova Royalty, and Alex Zukanik, the CEO of the company, wants to give us an insight. Welcome, and hello, how are you?
Thank you very much for having me. Doing great.
Perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time and the opportunity. Nova Royalty, can you give us a short overview on the company, what you are doing? Obviously, you are in the royalty business.
Correct. Look, we are in the royalty business, but what we really are is we're really, I think, in the beginning of a fundamental change in how we live.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started the company 2 years ago, the reason we focused on our commodities of copper and nickel, and I believe right now we're still the only pure play player focused in that space, is that we saw a change in the entire way that the world wants to live in terms of how it wants to produce energy, and electric energy we saw as the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in both wind and solar and electric cars and everything else you see around us.
Mm-hmm.
And what we wanted to do was have a royalty company be focused on the most critical materials in this new supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super.
And we saw copper and nickel as really playing the key role in this phenomenon. So while we are a royalty company, we really are an electrification company. And the best way to invest in any commodity is through royalties. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, super. I'm also totally a bull for copper, nickel, I call them all future metals, all the battery metals, all that kind of things. And I saw that you did an acquisition of 9 royalties, and I found it really interesting that you have a 1% royalty on Rio Tinto and Forum Energy's Juice Lake project. How did that come that you worked then with Rio Tinto? That's quite interesting for me.
If you look at our portfolio, all of our royalties, whether that's Juice Lake, which is Rio Tinto, or Taka Taka, which is First Quantum, or Nueva Union, which is Teck and Newmont, all of our main royalties are on projects being advanced by large, serious companies. Mm-hmm. And the reason we're able to buy them is because we don't buy them from the companies directly. These are very well-funded companies. We buy them from the third parties who own those royalties. So the reason that, when you look at the life cycle of a project, long before it's producing, there's usually a prospector or a junior company that owns the project. But they don't have the capital or the expertise, quite honestly, to develop them. So they sell them on to the larger companies. In the course of those transactions, they often take royalties as upside participation. These projects take a long time to get into production. So where we come in is we come in at a stage where we see clear progress towards something tangible and hopefully a production scenario, but there's still a good ways to go. Mm-hmm. And that's what creates the opportunity for Nova. We buy these things systematically, and we're trying to create a portfolio for investors to invest in. So that's how we approach our business.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Okay, fully understood. I really get that, and I think it's a very clever business model, to be honest. Let's say, what are the parameters for you to buy a royalty? Let's say, how far away is the project from production? Are there certain partners who need to be involved? Or let's say, what is your strategy on that to generate finally a real cash flow? Because this is what you want to do with royalty.
100%. Look, we're in the business where a relatively small number of projects produce all of the returns. So and those projects invariably wind up in the hands of the largest, most capable companies. Mm-hmm. So for us, the number one criteria is, do we see this becoming a keystone project for a highly successful company? It can be more often than not, it's going to be either a major or a very successful mid-tier, but you need to see a path forward. Otherwise, you really don't need to transact, because we are in the business which is mostly risk. And at the same time, there is this incredible reward if you are disciplined and focused on what actually works. So for us, we have a pretty extensive technical team, really some very strong people. So before we bid on anything, it goes through a screen of at least 2 technical people on our team. And then we really figure out how much we like something and whether it has a real future. And then once we figure out that it really fits the portfolio, then we can be very flexible about structuring deals. So if you look at everything we've done, we've really worked very hard with the people we transacted with to make sure we got a good solution for us and for them. So, but that's number one screen. We want to have a portfolio of projects that will be producing for 20, 30, 50 years into the future. And that's, I think, the attraction. If you look at the copper industry today, it was built in the 19th century, not 20th. So
absolutely.
So when you have a chance to grab these generational mines early at what are, I think, very good valuations, if you look at the financial metrics, I think you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. No, as said, I'm a total copper bull, and if I look at my point and figure chart analysis, I think everything above 325, we have a major breakout. The next target would be 450 to 475, which would, of course, shoot your royalties also to the moon, and in a positive way. So what are the projects you see closest to an upcoming cash flow? How many projects do you think you can easily take on board?
Well, the thing is, if you look, when I look at our portfolio, to be honest, I'm not sure which one gets there first. Because the reality is they're all in the hands of very strong partners, and who accelerates first to get it to that point of production, I guess we'll see. Even Janus Lake, which is the earliest one in the portfolio, it's still exploration stage. But if you look at the Rio Tinto, first of all, they're drilling it very hard. Number two, Rio Tinto has a discovery in Australia called Winu or Winu. I'm not sure if I'm butchering the pronunciation, but the point is they only discovered it a couple of years ago. And at the same time, they're already putting it into production. It's by far the smallest copper mine they've ever put into production. Mm-hmm. So it shows you the hunger that the major companies have for quality copper projects in good jurisdictions. So the way we've taken the view that our projects are really going to be kind of really accelerated into a production post 2025, which is when people are forecasting this big supply crunch in both copper and nickel. And I think these projects, they could take a while. They're not quick to construct. One thing I think we want to draw very clear emphasis on: this isn't gold. You can build a gold mine for $100 million in a couple of years, and you're cash flowing. Only trouble is you'll stop cash flowing in 7 to 10 years. We will take longer to go into production, but these mines may outlive our children as well. So I think it's a different it's a different duration profile. So what we're very excited about, Jachin, is that we see a great opportunity to grow the company. We've spent a lot of time on the prep work before we went public, and we know exactly what we want to do with the universe, and we have a very busy acquisition pipeline. So we really think that as we grow and scale here, this will be the best way for investors to invest in these critical materials through a diversified royalty portfolio of really outstanding projects. And that's really all we're focused on at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Super. Do you say, okay, we are looking worldwide for royalties, or do you have, let's say, some kind of no-go areas or no-go jurisdictions?
Listen, if there's one thing you do learn, in time of being in this business, you want to be flexible, number one, but you also need to have some very clear standards. We're not going to invest in places where there is not a clear support for the mining industry. I think that's number one criteria. Now, those things can shift over time, but I do think the onus is on jurisdictions to prove that. So we're not the people who say just because the mining code changes and just because a couple people have come in doesn't mean that the coast is clear. This is you really need a mining culture. The places we love the most, I think, are the predictable ones: U.S., Canada, Australia, Mexico, Chile, Peru. That's where kind of Argentina, the good parts. We just bought Taka. But in Salta, for instance, that's a very mining-friendly province. The government's very supportive. The communities are very supportive. You're right across the border from Antofagasta in Chile. You have all the infrastructure. So places like that, we're super happy to invest. But, again, you do need to keep your eyes out. We're definitely not a first mover in terms of geopolitical risk. I think we'll probably fall toward the end of the pack on that one.
Okay, super. Last question. What does the company look like today? Meaning shareholder-wise, what is cash in the bank? Meaning what firepower do you have to buy new royalties?
So I think, when you look at it, we've got about $5 million of cash in the bank. We've got another $9.5 million available under our credit facility with BD Capital, which is one of the largest institutional investors in Canada, which backed us right before we went public. So it's great to have, I guess, $15 million of liquidity off the bat. And we also have some incredibly supportive shareholders. One thing to remember, we've had, one of the reasons we're in this position is we had some very solid, supportive people come into the company off the bat when we did our first raise, which was quite small. It was only $2.6 million. You know, so that was a 25 cent unit back in January 2019. You know, and those shareholders have been with us through the next financing round, which was at 50 cents this past February. And now that we're public, you know, they're all still in there, kind of really supporting the company and kind of because they see a great opportunity. So, you know, and then, so we're kind of, whenever we need capital, I think we'll be in good shape to go and get it, whether it's from BD or some of the other holders. And I think in the market as well, you know, we will go to the market eventually, no question. You know, I think people see that there's a need for what we're doing because this isn't just a royalty company. These are truly the critical materials. And I think that, you know, we look forward to welcoming new holders into the story who really want to be here for the next 10 plus years as we build this into something that we think can be a very substantial company.
Super. And when you think in such long categories, I'm pretty sure you want to pay in the future then when it's appropriate also dividend.
100%. I mean, listen, you know, you can't be a company without cash flow. I mean, that doesn't work. It's you know, look, where we saw the great opportunity in the beginning was, you know, in terms of building value, and really the projects we have, I think, represent the best value in the mining sector. I mean, whenever you combine generational mines at these types of valuations, you have to do it. I don't see how you can pass that up. At the same time, once you have the value base, I think you do want to get some cash flowing royalties, and we're very focused on that right now as well. So it's just a matter of sequencing, but like we expect to be a full dividend paying, you know, cash flowing company sort of going forward. It's just a matter of when you sequence the steps, and you know, we're working very hard on that.
Perfect. Super. Alex, thank you very much. That was great. Time is over and very compelling story. Very interesting. I must say, I like the royalty business anyhow. And yeah, we wish you all the best to that and look forward to an interview to another occasion.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Josh, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. You too. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Commodity TV for Precious Metal Summit Europe. And with us was Alex Tsukernik, the CEO of Nova Royalty. And you heard it, this is quite a new royalty story. They have purchased already 9 royalties. They are building it up. But what I really like with it is that we are not talking about precious metals. We talk about future metals, especially copper and nickel. And I would call it also battery metals in the future here. And this is something which is long term because the e-mobility will accompany us for the next 20, 30, 40 years, including hydrogen. And those are exactly the metals we need. They will be in high demand. They will stay in high demand. And I think it's quite wise to look over royalties in that sector. So I would suggest you check out the company. Thanks for watching us and bye-bye from Switzerland.